Good morning, everybody. This is Catherine Clement, and this is the Saturday Morning Mastermind. We meet here almost every Saturday, and we study different books on mindset and spirituality. And we're currently reading Whatever Arises, Love That, A Love Revolution That Begins With You by Matt Kahn. And it's a great book. I believe we are in chapter 9. I know it's page 151 in my book. Let me see on the chapter here. Yep, chapter 9. And before I get started, what we do is I typically read a chapter and then we discuss it, or part of a chapter, and we discuss it. So um, Samantha's going to grab her book, I think, or she's getting somebody to bring it to her maybe so she can show you what it looks like. And I'll let um, my friends here come out, introduce themselves, and then we'll get started.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Catherine. Morning, Samantha, and everybody out there. Glad to be here. It's Jason from Tampa Bay, and looking forward to your reading. Thank you so much.
Good morning, it's Samantha. I'm here in Indiana and here with my grandchildren. Of course, you can't see them because they're low. Well, here, jump up here, Bailey. There's Bailey. Christian's over there. I'll try and stay as focused as I can. I'll get the book here in just a minute, though. I didn't remember to bring it in here.
That's okay. Uh, so we're over there on Facebook and we're on YouTube. I think you can find us pretty much anywhere you look. Just on Facebook, we're Mindset Mastery Collective, and we have a group there. You're welcome to join us. And if you want to be on the panel here with us, we can always arrange that too. We'd love to have you. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And this little section is called Offering Advice, Interrupting, and Lashing Out. As a light bearer of heart-centered consciousness, you are always in a position to hold sacred space for life's deepest healing. When a desire to interrupt becomes an opportunity to slow your breathing and listen at a more intimate level, you increase the likelihood of the other person being more open to receiving what you have to say once you've allowed them to make their point. Even after someone has stated their case, you may experience the ways in which others are unwilling or unable to be as masterful of a listener as you are for them. As tempting as it is, as tempting as it might seem to point out how faithfully you've listened or how unfair it is that they're not giving you the same in return, it is far more beneficial to acknowledge any degree of frustration or your disappointment as the next one's in line to be loved. Even though an act of engaged listening may increase the likelihood of someone reciprocating the same interest in return, it cannot be guaranteed to unfold in any way other than to inspire your most profound healing. Conscious communication levels the playing field of your daily interactions by reminding you of the ways in which listening to others offers you the chance to practice being a better listener to yourself. No matter how one sided conversations seem to be, they can always feel fair, adequate, and equitable as long as listening is viewed as an active meditative practice. Even when a willingness to listen inspires a response, whatever you wish to say out loud is not necessarily what they need to hear or absorb. In many cases, your response to others reveals the messages of inner guidance that only you need to hear from yourself. When overlooking that truth, you may find yourself in situations where the righteous inflammation of ego causes you to draw from your favorite spiritual insights in an attempt to educate those who seem misinformed. By projecting your advice onto others, Conversations can quickly become heated debates when the greatest advice you know is ignored or rejected. And yet, conscious communication will remind you time and time again the one who speaks is primarily the one needing to hear the words they say. And I laugh because I've seen this played out in my own life so many times. The fact that you are in a position to hear them out offers you more opportunities to practice being a better listener by holding a more conscious space than they may ever be able to hold for you. When your heart has been put in charge of how you respond, you can see that you're motivated only to give advice to another to remind yourself of the next important step for you to take in your life. Even if you had, even if the advice you are eager to offer another person matches the actions you've already implemented in your life, the fact that you are inspired to impart such wisdom motivates you to act upon it on a more consistent basis with renewed enthusiasm. Give me one second here. When your heart, oh, I think I already read that. Renewed enthusiasm. Yep. As you learn to communicate consciously, you recognize the willingness to show greater interest in the uniqueness of another as one of the powerful gifts you can provide. Through a renewed commitment to listen in a more engaged way, you offer the innocence of others the chance to purge all they are willing to release through the words they are motivated to speak. Anything you would need to say to correct their assumptions, judgments, opinions, or conclusions offers you the chance to speak out loud the words you need to hear and to become more aware of the action steps that are pivotal for you to implement. Even though you are interacting in a world of others, the relationship with your true innocent nature masquerades through ongoing interactions with various characters. This doesn't mean the way that others behave is a reflection of a behavior within you. It is more the case of meeting the emotional disposition of another as a reflection of times in your life when such behavior offered you less love from others instead of more. It's as if your history of life experiences is cross referenced by categories of emotions. Any unresolved feelings that linger in your cellular memory take shape and form as the temperament of other people. While the words they share with you represent the purging of cellular debris from their energy field, they also represent aspects of your past that await the support, attention, and encouragement that seem to be missing from your past. This is precisely why listening to others acts as a chance to practice listening to your innocence at a more intimate level. Even if the person speaking asks for advice, you can ask yourself the question, what are the words I always wanted to hear whenever I felt that way? The words that would have made a difference if only those in your life had known what to say become the gifts you are here to offer as a way of healing both hearts. In conscious communication, the way someone else acts, behaves, or speaks to you cannot justify matching their unconscious behavior and lashing out at them. Even if you were to lash out, you can notice this as an opportunity to take some private time to slow your breath, to actively engage with your inner child, and to listen to whatever your heart wants to say. This can include offering love to the aspect of self that lashes out at other people as if they are a sibling who gets all of your attention. No matter how frustrated you are in the presence of another, you are only crying out for your own loving approval, despite how much attention you believe another person owes you. If there are words that others did not say that you wanted to hear, then they become your brand new personal love statement that can be spoken to yourself as often as necessary. One inspired choice at a time, you increase the likelihood of having a positive experience with anyone you meet. No longer will the conditions of their ego limit your reality because only your choices and perceptions can determine the quality of your experience. Should I stop there or continue? That's quite a lot to chew on.
That was excellent. I think that's a good stopping point. I love this, how they speak about active listening.
Yes, I do too. I really do. This is a perfect passage to read here as I get ready to have people coming into more people coming into my house. And it is just a great reminder that, we just, when we're in a conversation with somebody, or maybe we're not even a conversation, maybe it's something we see on TV or whatever it is, but when something is frustrating us or making us angry or upsetting us, making us sad, we always want to blame it on that other person. Like it's always their fault, right? It's they're doing something wrong or not doing something right. And we just forget that it's really more about, something that that's in our past that's bringing up. It's like having a splinter in the dog's paw, and it just every once in a while you hit it and yelp, and but we just don't remember, like those things kind of go underground and we don't remember them, and the only way to heal them is for God to send these other people into our lives that say things that rub that little splinter to remind us, oh yeah, that's still there. I have to heal that. Instead, we just want to throw blame at, oh, they're making me mad. They're making me angry. Like like it has nothing to do with us, and it has nothing to do with our healing, when it has everything to do with us and our healing, as this chapter or this passage points out.
Yeah, I think that's a powerful thing that we don't really realize until we learn that lesson in some way, that the people that seem like they're the most aggravating to us or pushing our buttons or whatever is is our own things that we have to work on versus what we think the other person should work on. And because it's so fascinating to think about everything. Careful, guys, careful. I felt that you bumped his head. It's such a fascinating thing to think about, this whole concept that every time that we get upset, or every time that we are annoyed, or every time that something goes in a way that we don't like, and it gets us angry, is that all of those events are things that are learning opportunities for ourselves to dig deeper into our own thought processes and our own feelings and all of that, to figure out why that particular situation is irritating us so much, so that we can work on it. And especially, it's so hard when it's a family member, because you've been with them for so long, and you've been aggravated or annoyed or whatever for so long, and they know all the things that really get you going, and sometimes we even tend to do things purposely towards each other because we know that's an issue, And
am I? Right there.
But when we can really dig into ourselves
Where
and
am I,
think about it, quiet, I'm talking. We can really dig into ourselves and think about it. We can really learn some deeper things about ourselves that we can change our whole life just by recognizing these things that are irritating and figuring out what the real thing is. Okay, I'm gonna mute out.
Ah, absolutely, we do. We just, yeah. And I laughed as I was reading because, like, this part where it says, when you're trying, where does it say? Oh, when overlooking that truth, you may find yourself in situations where the righteous inflammation of ego causes you to draw from your favorite spiritual insights in an attempt to educate those who seem misinformed. That just cracked me up because I have done that myself and I have seen others do that so many times. And it never works. It never works. But and then I like this part over here. It's as if your history of life experiences is cross-referenced by categories of emotions. Any unresolved feelings that linger in your cellular memory take shape and form as the temperament of other people. And somehow, some way, I'm not sure exactly how it all works, but I think we are, I think people do come in and like play these parts just to bring these broken parts of us out so that we can see them because we bury them so deep. I bury them in my body and they come out and yell at me in the form of pain and different things. And I totally get that. I get cellular memory and um, just being interconnected with others. And like, I see, especially working with people through the years, I do some treatments that help people. And it seems as if once we address the emotional issues, then the other issues kind of resolve on their own. Um, Maybe not everything, some we have to work with a lots of different things, diet and lifestyle and different things, but the mindset piece and the healing emotional traumas piece is a huge aspect of it. Um, and you'll notice sometimes if you pay attention to your body that certain emotions that you have will trigger a certain sensation in a certain area of your body. Like if you're getting angry, oftentimes you tense up your shoulders and stuff so you can get like neck pain and shoulder pain. But maybe for you, it's a bad left knee, and every time you get angry, your your left knee hurts. So I just encourage people to kind of pay attention to what your body is saying to you because it can tell you a lot about your emotions as well. Just it's kind of like another person, as far as reflecting back emotions to you. Your body can do that too.
Yeah, that's really interesting too. How how our own own bodies and can sort of be a filter for the the things we hear that other people are experiencing as well. Uh, if you've ever had that conversation with someone who is experiencing, an issue with their knee or their hand or something, and you notice that your thought immediately goes to an injury that you've had or an ailment that you've had that's similar, and you almost feel like you have to say something about your experience. Um, but a lot of times, um, really just listening is probably going to um, be what you kind of need to do. Um, but there's kind of, and hearing what you were reading, it just pulls out the thought for me that there's so much going on when we're actively listening like that, because we're listening to try to, to try to focus and hear what the other person is saying, and derive, their meaning, what they're, the point that you're trying to make. And we're also trying to filter out, what it means for us, and find the correct response. And, if it's our friend, we're trying to be of a benefit to our friend, or to continue on with the conversation, to kind of add to it. Uh, just It just brings to light that even in a simple conversation, there can be so much more going on than what's just there at the surface.
Yeah, there is so much more going on than what yeah, I don't know. We get here and we forget, I guess, why we came, and we get kind of caught up in whatever's going on in the world, or, whatever culture we're thrown into, and we kind of forget how amazingly perfect everything is. The timing of I mean, even amidst the horrible tragedies, the timing of things, with every tragedy, there's people that were supposed to be there that weren't. And so, you always, oh, there's Angel. Yay. Angel's coming on with us. Good to have you, honey. Um, there's always people that missed their bus, or people that were sick that day, or whatever, and so they don't wind up at that place. So even amongst the tragedies, like the timing of everything is so perfect. Just look at, I mean, I'm making my granddaughter and I are making some corn rattles today, and so I was making dye with beets last night, to put on the rattles today. And I cut open the beet, and I was looking at the inside of the beet, and I was just so amazed at how perfect it was. Like, and and then when we look at nature, and we look at just the incredibleness of everything, of the human body, of all the different creatures on this face of this planet. I mean, they're so amazing. Even one of them would be amazing. And we have, you know, I don't know how many millions or something, I'm sure. So, like, it's all so perfect. And somehow we are looking and observing all of these perfect things, and yet we question that our everyday conversations and interactions with someone are not just as perfectly timed and coordinated. They must be. How could there be total perfection and chaos at the same time? There isn't. It's all perfection. So glad to have you with us, Angel.
Hello, hello. Sorry I'm late. Glad to be here.
It's all good.
I know Catherine just said that everything is perfect timing, so it's just right. That is such a crazy thing to think about, though. I mean, we always feel like we're, nothing ever goes the way that we think that we want it to go. Or maybe not nothing, but a lot of times it just feels that way. And yet, we're talking about this concept of perfect timing. Everything's just perfect. And then we argue about it. We get frustrated because of it. And yet, like you said, divine timing is, it just automatically, I don't know. It's a weird thing. We think we have this we have free will. We think we do anyway, you know, and yet things kind of just happen, you know, regardless of what we do. Sometimes it feels like, and I feel like I'm constantly, I don't know. It's like we trying to make things happen or trying to keep things from happening, you know, and yet things just kind of happen how they're going to happen. And sometimes it feels like it works out perfectly, and other times it feels like it's the most annoying thing ever. And but yet, you know, as things happen and time goes by, we realize, oh, okay, well, I guess that worked out the way it was supposed to. So I don't know. It's kind of crazy.
I can't even count how many times I have said that to myself, you know, being just completely overwhelmed and crushed and whatever by a situation. And then looking back, maybe 10 years later, maybe it might take for me to look back at a situation and go, oh my God, look how perfectly that actually worked out, you know? Um, because we just don't know why things are happening in the moment. And we fight it, we fight against it, we try to micromanage everything, and then we complain that we have too much responsibility on our shoulders. I mean, we're basically looking out at the world and saying, you need to stop doing that so I can be happy, and you need to stop doing that so I can be happy. But I have too much responsibility on my shoulders. Like we're just we're so screwed up in the head, you know. We want to micromanage everything, and yet we don't want to be responsible for anything. Like, all at the same time. It's the silliest thing.
I'm trying to configure a thought. Like I got it, and then I go to say something, and then I lose it. Like something on what Mom was saying with timing, and kind of what you guys were both saying. Like, because if it didn't happen that way, like if it didn't time out so perfectly that way when it was happening, and it's like and would we still be here, or would we be in like a different area? I don't know. I lost my train of thought. It was there.
Mommy.
And then I lost it. Maybe it'll come back. I'll come back. I'll come back out.
Hard to keep your focus when the kids are going, ma, 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 ma. But I don't know. That's the question, right? You know, is it all just, I mean, in a lot of ways we look back and we can see that there's perfection in there, and then yet we fought it the whole way to here. You know, we fight it all the time. I feel like I'm fighting it. And yet, you know, Matt's telling us in this whole book, he's just like, love whatever arises. Don't worry about it. It's all good, you know? And it's easy to keep that kind of feeling for a minute, but to keep that feeling continuously throughout the day when the kids are yelling and screaming, and you're trying to pay the bills, and you're trying to work, and you're trying to do this, and you know, and you've got your family coming, going, and having conversations with people, and then you have angry people and sad people and upset people, and you know, it's just like, how do you keep that? How do you keep that feeling of just loving whatever arises?
What are you doing?
And I can only only guess that it's just, you know, that is the work, right? You know, that's the work that we're doing. It's just kind of letting go of whatever. I don't know, but then it's saying, you know, love whatever rises in your emotions too. So if you're upset, be upset. If you're, you know, it's hard. It's hard.
I don't mean to interrupt, but it's like maybe it's not more about like loving what arises, but more of it's like just kind of going with the flow of what arises. Like, yeah, it's and like the whole love what arises is, still like maybe that kind of coincides with the feelings, and then like everything else is like, oh, you just it's more of like just kind of go with the flow of what kind of pops up, just kind of go with it. Maybe I possibly. And then whatever feelings arise in those situations, you still you stop and you remind yourself, I still love you, it's okay, but we can, maybe it's just one of those where it's like you just need to go with the flow and still love yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. So, we can actively listen and go with the flow, and we get to pick and choose, what feelings and what energies we will allow to influence our own thoughts and our own being. And and then when we're actively listening, I think it, when we're really having patience not only for the person we're listening to, but also for ourselves, um, in choosing our thoughts and the filters in which we want to be be listening with. Um, we're showing ourselves love. We're giving love to ourselves and to the person we're listening to, and we are, in a way, being in the flow and being part of the flow and adding to it. And and if we give ourselves the space to recognize it, we may be also in that moment filling in a need that we've kind of put out there, that we've wanted, um, that we've kind of asked for in the past, and then now it is coming coming through in the form of a conversation, with a friend. We may ask that we may be having a tough week or something prior, or being a little bit lonely, and now suddenly we have this conversation with someone who has this kind of odd energy level, and if we're careful, we can be we can be careful not to take on the energy level, but at the same time have that, be able to have filled that void of being lonely, and being there for someone and allowing them to get whatever it is off their chest, and then also being, providing ourselves with the opportunity to use our ability to, to kind of steer the conversation in a positive way, and really create a positive, good experience out of the whole thing. So yeah, I like that. I think we could definitely, looking to be in the flow wherever we are. Uh, I like that idea.
Yeah, he reminds us in this one part that, even if he says in conscious communication, the way someone else acts, behaves, or speaks to you cannot justify matching their unconscious behavior and lashing out at them. Even if you were to lash out, you can notice this as an opportunity to take some private time to slow your breath, to actively engage with your inner child, and to listen to whatever your heart wants to say. This can include offering love to the aspect of self that lashes out at other people. So we're definitely loving ourselves. No, we can't stay in that, as Abraham would call it, the high flying disc. we can't stay there all the time. We're going to get knocked off our disc once in a while, but the the thing is, and I certainly resonate with this. I've heard it said through the Abraham speakings, is that once you actively take steps in your life to find that calmness, to connect with your higher self and find those moments of peace and stillness, that that fellowship with God, if you will, that sacred space. If you can get there, even for just a few moments at a time, um, once you've really connected to that, it's so much harder to go back into the chaos, right? So it feels worse. Like before I started a lot of this spiritual, reading different spiritual books and listening to different quote gurus and learning this stuff, I some of this stuff didn't bother me then as much as it bothers me now, which is sort of an oxymoron, isn't it? Because you're thinking like the more spiritual you get or whatever, the less things would bother you. No, it bothers you more to have your vibration off, which is basically, what it is. You're used to this kind of more pure frequency, and then it's kind of like you're tuned into a radio and the station's really clear and you're totally digging the music, and all of a sudden, I don't know what happens, but like it gets slightly off and you get this static coming in. It's sort of the same thing. It's very that static is very irritating to the senses because you were just enjoying that pure vibration of the good music. And it's kind of the same way, we when when you're doing a lot of spiritual stuff and you kind of staying in your zen zone, that's why you see these memes that say don't f with my zen, or because uh we get in this zen place and then some irritation comes up and we're like, ah, we're like the exorcist girl. But it does it's like it irritates us more because we just want that pure frequency space because it feels so good, but so that when we get irritated or frustrated or upset, instead of deeming it the end of the world and that we should just move to another planet today, we can just recognize that our vibration is off, and we just need to think about some of the, take a moment, get back in our zen spot, maybe take a moment of self-reflection if you have time. If not, do that later and figure out, okay, what was I supposed to learn from that? Why was it irritating me so much, or whatever. um, so often it's something from our childhood that we're still dealing with, which is just blows my mind, but it's so often that's where it winds up.
It reminds me, and I love how they with Abraham, the that that whole program, they talk about the contrast, and you just reminded me how, like, it is so funny that we're trying to get in that in the zone or be in the flow. There's something that kind of knocks us out of it, and I and it, I just like the idea of how they talk about it as just being the contrast that reminds us how nice it is to be in that Zen state. And so that we can you kind of laugh because something could come along, and when it does, you can kind of laugh at it and have that be your kind of knee-jerk reaction rather than just getting completely upset or lashing out, or like like you meant, that was cute. We have to experience that a few times before we kind of get it. And, that's what makes life interesting too. If it was all just easy, nothing, if there was never any contrast, we wouldn't know how good we had it. So I love that. Thanks for sharing that.
Kind of cuckoo to think about that, right? That, we need this contrast, we need the chaos, we need the frustration, the anger, and all of that, so that we recognize when we have peace, when we have happiness, when we're enjoying something, is we have to have the the unpleasant stuff in order to enjoy the things that are pleasant, to know the difference. That's crazy. But you make a good point, Catherine. Of we get this zen. We're all happy and it's all peaceful and da 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 da. And then all of a sudden, someone's banging on our door, going, "Hey, let me in!" And they're being all loud, and you're like, go away." you know, you just want that peace all the time, and yet, I kind of am curious. How long would we remain in the peace before we decided, oh, okay, I've had enough peace and now I need some chaos? Right now it's, we get interrupted well before, well before we've had enough peace. And there's just so much chaos all the time. But I'm curious about that. Could we just go, even for a monk or somebody who goes up to a monastery and they go in there and they think they're going into this peaceful environment, they still have other monks there that could, irritate them in some way, or the weather could irritate them, or, I don't know, a bug could come along and irritate them. There's always something, right? So, it's like I was sitting out on on my shades in my office last night, and I was just being peaceful. Hold on, I'm talking. And then all of a sudden I had, like, I don't know, a bug was crawling up my pant leg, and I'm like, what? Why are you bothering me, little bug? I'm like, here I am in my peace, it's all quiet, I'm enjoying myself, and then here comes this little bug, and it just takes so little just to knock me off my little peaceful train. It's just, I don't get it. I don't get it.
That's just because you've been on the peaceful train enough that there's enough contrast. I like that word too, Jason. There's enough contrast to that you're just like, no, I want my Zen again. But yeah, totally, those monks, a mosquito, anything could be. Plus they have to deal with all their own inner demons during that time. The hardest part is being with yourself sometimes, right? And really owning up to having these frailties. We all just want to be so stoic, and we don't want to admit that we have um, evil thoughts, or bad days, or that we lose it. That's why I love this group so much, because we're so honest about being who we are, that yeah, we're on this path and we're learning every day, and we're learning from every experience and every conversation. But we're not Jesus or somebody. Like, we can't just float around up above everything. We're in it. I have said so many times in this lifetime, I am not coming back. But like, every time that I say that, I almost laugh, because somehow I know that I'm one of those that gets up there in that perpetual peace and says, okay, I've had enough. Let's go back to earth.
when we choose every day to be here, we choose it, whether we realize it or not. I mean, we choose this. And, this is another thing that has come to my attention a number of different times in my life, is that I have a choice in every moment to continue to experience what I'm experiencing, or not. I mean, at any point we could decide, oh, I'm over it, and just, I'm done, I'm out of here. We could do that. We could also step right out of whatever life situation that we're in, and change it if we wanted to also. But we don't, because what it would take to make that change. It's like a lot of times, you're in a family relationship, or you're in a relationship with another person, spousal wise, or whatever the situation is, and or maybe you're wrapped up in a business or a partnership or something along that lines, and you're frustrated with it. But at any moment we could quit it. We could. We don't think we can because of all of the things that are connected to it, but we could. It's just we make the choice every day to keep going down this path, or we could choose another path, but we recognize also, okay, if we chose this, all this chaos might happen, or I might hurt people's feelings, or I might, it might cost me something financial, or a lot of work. That's another thing. It's like online, I see people all the time. They're wanting out of their job, and they don't want to do it anymore, and they want to have a business, but yet they don't want to do the work that is required to make that thing happen. And but it's a choice every time. We think that we're stuck, but in reality, we're making a choice to stay right where we are. So it's in a lot of ways, I feel like that is a powerful thing when you can recognize, I'm making this choice to be here in this moment, right here and right now, because I could choose something different. It's just going to be, maybe it would just be so much harder, and I don't want to face that hardship, whatever that is, whether it's an emotional hardship or financial or work or whatever, is that I don't want to face that. And that's why I stay where I am, even though I'm supposedly, maybe I'm not as happy with it as I think I am, but I'm choosing it every day, I'm choosing this. So we have to, it's good when we can recognize that, because then we've kind of given ourselves the power in our lives to recognize, oh, okay, I'm choosing this right now. This is what I'm choosing in my life. And it may not be exactly what I want, but I know that this is my choice.
Yeah, in an age where it's so easy to feel powerless with so much going on in the state of affairs and type of things, that we feel, there's in so many areas of life we can feel powerless. That's a really great way to kind of take the power back and recognize um, when we have the power to decide, and be okay with the little, with small changes and small decisions, to don't have to have monumental impact, but they can, and a lot of times they have bigger impact than we might get to even see, because it might have like a butterfly effect, where you wave into one person and they wave to another, and then next thing you know, we've lifted the energy levels of hundreds of people with a smile or a wave. I mean, those little things can have powerful effects, and those little decisions can have powerful effects, even if it's just in not sending a negative energy out there, or in being a conduit for someone else's negative energy. I always think it's neat when I can be in an interaction with someone whose ego is obviously inflated, and their energy level is high, and they've obviously just taken on a lot of reacting to a lot of energy that's out there, and if I can listen and keep my energy level kind of calm and consistent, but still listen attentively, um, and be that sounding board that they need, without contributing to that higher energy or that negative energy, and then at the end kind of change it to a more enjoyable or calm or calm conversation, to where uh, the person gets everything off their chest, and they know they've been heard, and then we're able to then move on to another enjoyable topic. And then you hear it in you could hear it in their voice when their energy level changes, and they're like, oh yeah, I was able to do this, and that did turn out well when I did that over here. And you're just like, and to me, it's just like, okay, I was able to, it's almost like I don't know, like a energy jujitsu kind of a thing, where you're able to not only not take on that energy, but at the same time be there for your friend or whoever it might be, and then be present, but also outside of the situation enough to where you can have the presence of mind to move the energy forward and into a better state and into a better interaction. I find joy in that. I think that can also be kind of like being in the flow, or changing the flow, letting them flow with me. But I love this conversation. It's really a lot to think about, a lot of good things that y'all are coming up with. Thank you.
Well, thank you everybody for being here today. And we had a couple of our regular people not here today. Dan's out helping people with his car today. And we're sending our love to Lori, who is at a memorial for her friend today. So just sending lots of love her way. Any final thoughts? We're kind of getting to the point where we need to wrap it up.
I just also want to shout out to Dan and Lori and Karen, our usual group, and to everybody out there. Wish you a wonderful weekend, and hope you can hop on here with some time with us. Thanks again for a great reading, Catherine. It's good to see you, Angela, and it's great to see you also, Samantha. Thanks again, everybody.
Thank you. I miss Karen so much. She has been having some internet problems. She moved to a new place and has been having some internet problems, so she hasn't been able to join us. But she's still our buddy. We love her.
For sure, for sure. We always miss everybody who's not on here with us. And of course, for those of you who are watching, if you're interested in jumping in on conversations like this, we'd love to have you. You just need to meet us over on Facebook. Mindset Mastery Collective is what you need to search for. That's our Facebook group. You'll find us there. And in that group, you'll find all the links to all our replays and links to get into our Zoom meeting on Saturdays. Most of the time we show up here, it's always the same link. So you can jump in and have a conversation with us anytime. So, oh, one last thing. It's Angel's birthday. So happy birthday, Angel. Yay.
Happy birthday.
Happy
I
birthday.
know.
Thank you guys.
All right. That's it for today. I guess I'll wrap up. Let's see everybody next time. Bye for now.
Bye.